Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a closer look at this old 302. Of course, this is the engine that I bought recently, and it's going to go in the 1962 Mercury Comet. I believe this is a 1972. I haven't had a chance to really look at this engine. I did buy another 302. This is a junk engine. And basically, I bought this engine because it came with a carburetor and an intake manifold, which was not on this engine. And this one here was only a couple $100, so it seemed like the value was in those parts anyway. Plus, I'll have some bits and bobs. Hopefully, this was a running engine. There's a video online of this engine running. Of course, it smoked like crazy, so it needs an overhaul. But I'm hoping I can salvage the intake manifold and the carburetor, and I've got some footage of that that you can watch right now. Okay, so we got our intake manifold. This is the one that came off the old engine I bought. I got it here at work on the workbench. I'm just gonna try to clean this up. See if I can move this over. I'm going to peel off all the old gaskets and try to get in. Some of these passages are pretty crusty. So anyway, I'm going to give this a good clean. I'm going to start with the I got this little polishing wheel here on the Anyway, you get the idea of this. I need 2 hands for that. And I'm going to put the camera down. I'm going to get this cleaned up, and then we'll check on the progress after. Okay, so I got a good layer off with the oven cleaner. That was good to get the grime off. But now I've got this little, I made up this little bath with some acid diluted in water. And that's really bubbling up now. We're not going to leave it in here too long. There might be nothing left, but there it is there. Oh yeah. Oh yes. So that's my plate. Again, I'm not even sure if I'll reuse this. I think I will, unless I found something better, but I'm here. I might as well clean it. I did the same thing with the carburetor. Looking quite clean now. Anyway, just on the outside, I wanted to get, I mean, you literally couldn't see anything. I said this was an auto light a minute ago. I might have got my terminology wrong. It's a motorcraft. It is a Ford carburetor, and it is the same carburetor I'm pretty positive that I had on my Grand Wagoneer. But anyway, just want to get the little cruds off, and this stuff is very strong, so I got the ventilation running in here. But yeah, it's doing enough. The acid is doing a very nice job. Of course, I'll have to make sure that I rinse this off properly. Otherwise, that'll just start eating away at the aluminum. Any metal components that are in here, but it's working quite nice. I just can't quite get in these crevices, but I think once I rinse it off, just to get all the filth off so I can see what I'm doing when I take the cover off, and then I'll be able to further clean it on the inside. But I mean, I've just been kind of going crazy here. I'm just dumping the stuff right in there, so maybe good or bad, I don't know. My videos are never really a how-to, just more how I do it, what I'm doing. Again, this is a carburetor that I bought a second engine, like you saw. I bought the engine basically for the value of the intake manifold and the carburetor. So here's my intake manifold. I got that all cleaned up yesterday, like I was showing, and I threw a coat of paint on it. This is more of a Caterpillar yellow, but my plan is to, I have the idea that I want to paint the engine yellow. So anyway, I just thought this would be a good base coat, and my intake manifold's looking quite nice. I plugged off all the holes that I'm either going to use or not going to use. Jacket water, not sure, that might be the one that went for the heater core. I'm not going to have a heater core. I don't want one. That car is only ever going to be driven in the summer. This, I believe, is to suck in for the brake boost for the power brakes, which I don't have power brakes, so I plugged that off. That one there, I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure because the plate that goes on here has the connection that goes for the vacuum advance. I'm not sure what that does. Like I said, this was on a 77, so a lot of EGR stuff, gas recirculation, emission stuff. All this stuff here that was part of that plate, that's why that plate's so big, because really the only thing this would have to be really is a spacer with a connection for the vacuum advance. But it had all these bellows and a million rubber hoses that I'm really going to try to not reuse. But anyway, just continuing with the carburetor cleanup. Okay, so the acid did a nice job on the carburetor. Took all the crud and everything, and even this piece here came out really nice. I even just taking the brush. I should have put it in the vise so I could scrub it a little bit harder, but anyway, this is looking good. The spacer, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little, maybe make a little plate for this. I think I can time to do that today. What I'm going to do now is, because I got all this acid and oven cleaner that made its way into the carb, you know, that stuff is good for cleaning, but it's probably not very good for anything else. So I'm going to open this up, take the top off, clean it out. I got some brake cleaner. What is this? Engine foam cleaner. Anyway, this brake cleaner should do. I'm going to do this today, and yeah, see if this is salvageable. It might need a kit, but then again, it might, I don't know the history, so it came off of a working engine, so maybe all it needs is a cleanup. Anyway, of course, if I take this off, you know, gaskets and stuff, but I'll play that one by ear. See how this goes. Okay, got the carburetor opened up. It's not too bad. I did a test on the float, so I blew some air through there and I lifted the float, so the seat seems to be working. I'm going to take this apart, clean it. There's a couple jets in here. I'm going to take this apart, clean it. Got the gasket off over here. I'm just going to reuse it. Still looks alright. I'm going to clean this a little bit better underneath. I'm going to make sure all the passages are good. The choke arrangement, a little complex here. I don't know. This might be EGR stuff. I'm not even sure. I don't even know what this connection is here. I don't know what this is. It comes right into this automatic choke. The last project I worked on, I had just put a manual choke, but I might give this one a chance. Anyway, I'm going to carry on here, opening this up and cleaning. There's a little bit of, see, there's a little bit of residue from all the acid and stuff I put in there, so I'm going to clean this up properly. Take this off. I'm no carburetor expert by any means, but I can certainly, I will do my best to take things apart slowly and clean all the components and then reassemble them. Accelerator pump is in here, I know that. I have no idea what this is. I don't have a replacement one. I will take this off. I believe this is a bit of an inlet filter. So anyway, I'm just going to plug away and see how I make out. Okay, a couple minutes later, I got this little device out here. Everything looks okay. The needle, this looks a little bit gummed up. I'm going to clean all this up really well. I got the float out. Float looks good. There's the seat. That actually looks like it's in good shape. So I will clean that up also. Right now I'm into this little fuel float bowl. I just put some carb cleaner in here, and there's a couple little I don't know if they're plugs or jets. I'm going to be honest with you, I am not an expert, but I will just keep dismantling very slowly, and wherever there's a passage, wherever you see a little passage, I mean, you don't have to be an expert. Where you see a passage, you know it has to be clear. And if there's a jet or whatnot, I can certainly take it out, spray it, blow air through it, and put it back in. So, get some of this on here. Give this a nice wipe down. I'll wipe this down in a second. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to dig in here and get all the crud and everything, get this all cleaned out. Especially on an older vehicle like this, where it probably sat with old gas in there. So I'm going to get this all cleaned out. And I'm just going to keep tearing down one piece at a time. One piece at a time. Taking my time. Okay. Okay, so continuing on, I got some of these components like this, and obviously someday I will break down and get a tripod, but you see little components like that, I could just take a piece of wire, and I just go through into all the orifices, like this, like that, blow it out with compressed air. Same with this here. There's little passages here. I can poke those in like this and get my wire to cooperate. There, I can poke this in like that. I poke that in, poke this in. There's little ones here too. I got smaller gauge wire for those. I'll try to run that down. And that same opening also comes out here. I don't know if you can just see just on the inside there, the little hole. So I'm going to pick in there. This was a little bit gummed up, so I got this all cleaned up, so this is springing up and down. I think I'm going to take a little bit of emery paper, and I'm going to, some fine emery paper, I'm going to polish this. So I got to get this cleaned up, get this all cleaned up. Now I have a little ball bearing that fell out. I'm 99% sure I know where it goes. It's in one of these holes. I believe it's this one, the middle one, but I'm not 100%. So before I put that in, I'll have to do a little bit of research. So now I got the bowl pretty much, I got the fuel bowl pretty much clean. I'm just going to proceed here and see if there's anything like this that I can remove, and also remove this inlet here, see if there's any gunk in here. Okay, so I got the fuel bowl pretty much cleaned out. There were two little jets in there that I unscrewed, and they're sitting on the bench right here. And I'm just showing here how to put this little jet out. I'm just showing how I put a piece of wire through, and that's how I'm cleaning it out. So I clean it out with the wire, and I'll spray some more brake cleaner on it, then I'll blow it off with air, and I can screw those back in. So that's both of those. In this little corner, where this is where the fuel comes in through where that filter was. There's a little device like this. This is where the fuel comes in, and I took this out with a 3/8 ratchet. Came out easy. There's another little pre-filter in there, so this actually was pretty clean. I soaked this in the acid for a minute, then blew it off, ran the wire through everything. There's no gunk or anything. This looks good, so that's going to go back in here in a second. My pre-filter, I took it off, I soaked it in the acid. There is a mesh in here, I don't know if you can see, maybe if I hold it up to the light. If I hold this up to the light, there we go. Some kind of a fine mesh in there. I dipped this in the acid and I blew through it with the air. I blew this way, so if anything's sitting on the mesh, it forced it back out through the inlet. This is nice and clean. Just going to let this dry now. This device here, I'm not sure if I showed that already. That's all part of this little contraption here, which this is where the fuel comes up. Honestly, I don't know if it's a metering valve, some kind of a metering valve, and I'm going to take the wire again and poke out all these holes. I still got to clean up this. I I was going to use emery paper, but that might be too aggressive. I just found this this little Brillo pad. I'm going to give this a light scrub. Get any of the tarnishing and that. Just polish that up a little bit. That's some kind of a metering valve that goes down here. So it's going well. I haven't touched the accelerator pump yet. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to consider these clean. This bowl is really as clean as it's going to be, or as clean as it's ever been. I'm going to put these two jets back in, and this little, I guess, secondary filter. I'm going to put this back in, and then I'm going to jump to this. I'm going to polish this, and I still have to figure out where my little ball bearing goes. I'm still not 100% sure, but I will get an answer. I believe it's this one. It's either this one or that, but this is the metering valve, so I'm thinking this one, but I will do my research before I dig any further. Okay, I'm going to continue with the reassembly of this part here. Okay, so I just went, of course I went online, did a little bit of research, and most of the Motorcraft carburetors that I was looking at was very, very similar to everything I see here, except for this, I don't know, I guess you could call it a Venturi tube or whatnot. This is the only one that I saw with this. Everything else is the same. Some of them had these emulsion tubes that were all perforated. Sorry, emulsion tubes perforated. Mine are not perforated, and mine has this long, I'm not even sure what you call it, kind of a metering valve that goes up and down on the spring. Out of everything I watched, of course mine is different, but my issue and the reason why I went to look was because I had a little ball bearing that fell out, and all the other Ford carburetors that I found had the ball bearing that go with this contraption that holds everything down, and it's in this hole right here. So I've put my ball bearing back in. Most of what I've seen, there was a device like this and then a little metal rod. Mine has no rod, but I did put the ball bearing back in here, and this will go like this. That's the best I can come up with. I found nothing. Of course mine is different because for some reason every time I flip and buy something it's different than what everybody else has. But anyway, this is all clean. My research was good. So indeed these are the two jets. My vocabulary was a little bit rusty. These are the jets. I did clean these out. This is the seat for where the float sits with the valve and seat. There's my float. My float's plastic, so I don't know if this was upgraded. For an old carburetor like this, I would have thought this would have been brass, but my float's plastic, and my float valve with my little rubber seat looks really good, so I'm just going to reuse that. What I wish I did have was an accelerator pump. I don't have an accelerator pump, and I don't even know if it's worth taking this off right now. Ah, well, of course it is. I'll take this off, have a look. If the rubber is good, it's good. And this, down here, I took this off, and this springs up fairly nice. This is called the power valve. Mine springs up, and everything looks good, so I'm going to leave it. And my adjustment screws here. I remember working on my ATVs when I was 12, 13 years old, and it always shut it all the way, open 2.5 turns, and that's what these are. So I took these out, cleaned them, put them back in, 2.5 turns open. So right now, before I go and lose, I've already done it again. The ball bearing. The ball bearing I'm going to put in the hole. Alright, that's it. Last time. The ball bearing's in the hole. This Venturi piece, I don't have a new gasket. This gasket looks okay. Like I said, that long rod I polished with some, I just used a scrubby pad. Same as the emulsion tubes, although most emulsion tubes that I saw had were perforated. These are not. I don't know. I didn't design this stuff. I'm just trying to clean it. So I'm going to drop these into place. If I can do this one-handed. I'll try. There she's in place. The ball bearing is down there. This has all been cleaned, all good to go, so I'm going to put this back in. So at least now my ball bearing cannot fall out, and I can flip this carburetor around back and forth without fear of losing anything. So these have all been cleaned. The bowl is as clean as it will ever be. This power valve springs up and down nice. I'm going to live with that as is the seat, clean and put back in place. All the bores have been cleaned. Anywhere where there's a little hose like this, or any kind of opening like this, I have blown compressed air through. Not gonna lie, there's a lot of stuff I don't really know what it is. Here's another example. This long rod, I'm not even sure what that is, but it looks like there's a hole there, so I will run. Sorry, you're not even in the shot. There's a hole here. I will run a skinny piece of wire through here to clean this up. I will blow air, carb cleaner. Just doing a cleaning, really. Done, done, done. So I need to tighten this up. And I think the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tackle this accelerator pump. Just see how bad it is. Okay, well here's my accelerator pump with the cover off. The cover's got a little bit of crud in it. I'm going to wipe this down. There's the rubber for the accelerator pump. I'm going to be honest with you. Is it brand new? No. Is it deteriorated, damaged, ripped? No, it's not. I think this is fine for now. I'm going to put this back together, and I'm going to call this good enough. Yeah, I don't see. Sometimes they're ripped or they're wrinkled or delaminated, but this one here, yeah, I'm going to live with this. I'm going to live with this, not a problem. I'm going to put this back on. Put this other little, I have no idea what this does, but I'll put it back on just in case. This, I don't know. I will put this back on, and I'm going to call this good. Okay. What else was I working on? I still don't know what this is. I don't know if this pulls a vacuum off of the... I'm not sure. A vacuum would be pulled off of here to pull this thing. I don't know what this does at this point. Or if it's exhaust gas or... Oh, and it's loose. I never loosened it, so... Alright, we'll investigate this after. The electric choke. I've got... other than that, I'm going to put this accelerator pump back together. The power valve feels good and springy. This looks good enough for me. I will put this back together and call this... I'm going to call this one good enough. Okay. Okay, I got the float assembly back in and tested. So this is hooked in. And then when I blow on the inlet, when the float is down, kind of like a toilet bowl, the fuel's allowed to flow in. As this rises up, it shuts off the valve. And I held this up here with my finger, and I really wasn't able to get the air through. So that's a good system. Everything is clean. Accelerator pump looks good. I'm just going to put my gasket back on. Now, unfortunately, I'm reusing the same gasket, but we all knew that. It looks alright. I mean, it's not new. I'll just find the best side, and it's not broken, cracked, or anything. And I'm going to line this up the best I can. Which way should it be? I think it should be this way. I think it should be this way. Does this make sense? Looks like it's not touching over here, though. I don't like that. Is this supposed to be open? Of course, I don't remember. I don't remember taking this off. I don't remember what... This looks to me like it's not lining up very nice. But this is an opening here. Maybe I thought it would be for this mechanism, but not necessarily. Let's try it this way. Well, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but this fits better this way. all the meat is covering up the, and maybe you're meant to be able to have a peek in there to make sure there's fuel, or I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to go with this. It's a better fit. It's a better alignment. Yeah, it's not high precision, but alright, I will drop this cover back on, tighten it. I'll put my fuel strainer, pre-filter back on, and I'm going to consider this carburetor done for now. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play with this this base plate, and I got to find a way to plug these holes because I have no desire to use any of this emission stuff. I want to keep my project as simple as I can. Okay, well, there we have our clean, reassembled Motorcraft carburetor. Hopefully, I put this back together right. Time will tell. Time will tell if this is good. I'm hoping it is. I'm not 100% sure on, in this position, should this be fully open or shut? Right now, I don't know. I might have put this a little bit out, but this is a minor detail. Anyway, if I wanted to, and I might, I could also just eliminate all this crap right here. And then just put a nice little, get one of those choke kits. That's all you need. A little knob on the dash that you pull in and out. Keep it even simpler. But anyway, carburetor cleaned. Here's my intake manifold. Now I have to deal with this. And I'm going to try right now. I'm thinking I want to use this plate because this is the suction tube for the vacuum advance. So this is kind of important. And I do need this spacer plate. I wish it didn't have this contraption on the back, but it's there. I think I'll just see if I can grab a piece of metal. I shouldn't be too overly complicated. Maybe make a little plate, cover that up. I'll see what we got here for tools and see if I can get this done. Okay, so they had pretty much everything I needed here. So I made a little plate like this. I made a little gasket to go on it. So I'm just going to get a little bit of silicone. I'm going to put this together. I'm going to paste this on the end, and I'm going to bolt it down, and I'm going to call this one done. See how that looks? Finished. Okay. Well, there's my finished product. Put a little plate, made a little gasket, a little bit of silicone, cleaned the face up a little bit. That's going to be behind. That's going to be behind the carb and then back, so you'll never know. You'll never know the difference that this was for an old Bronco with emissions package. Anyway, that's that. This was my afternoon. It was good. I had to be here anyway, and now it's supper time. So we'll catch you on the next one. Alright, so what I'm going to do now, you've seen the intake and the carburetor, so hopefully those will be good, or good enough, and hopefully that intake manifold will fit this engine. They're both 302s. God knows, you know, I'm buying bits and bobs, bits and parts and pieces, and it's like a Lego set. Got to see if I can make it all fit together. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put this camera down. I'm going to take these valve covers off, and I'm going to flip the engine over and take the oil pan off and have a look inside the cylinders. We'll be able to see the valves, give us an idea of the condition, and we'll be able to look into the cylinders, see if there's any cross-hatching left. God knows. I mean, there might not even be any pistons in this thing. We don't know. When you buy something like this, you know, it's a bit of a shot in the dark. So let's take a look, see what we find. Okay, so I got one valve cover off. Does not look horrible. However, it is not super clean for an engine that was supposedly rebuilt. But I mean, that's, you know, that's either here nor there. You know, I don't think I've ever really bought an old engine where somebody said it wasn't rebuilt before. Now, this guy here, when I bought this one, he said it runs but it needs to be rebuilt desperately. It smokes like crazy. So he was honest. This guy here, you know, he had been told that it had been rebuilt not that long ago, and he was going to put it in his project. But what I'm looking at so far, not horrible. Not horrible. He had everything nicely sealed off, and you know, it was in a nice, clean, dry area. So, you know, I took that for what it was worth. Here's the other side. How's that looking? Yeah, a little bit of gunk, but not terrible. Not terrible. That one there, you know, there was big. You can just look. You know, it's dirty. Very dirty. The dirty engine. And it's all full of crusties and stuff. And I don't think I had this valve cover off yet. Yes, I did. Now that is crusty and dirty. So this, yes, this was my parts engine. So, you know, I know that this one, I wouldn't even consider putting this in. This needs a full tear down. This one here, I'm hoping that I don't have to fully tear it down. Covers are clean-ish, so not bad. I'm just going to set this cover down here. Excuse my filming. There we are. Okay, not horrible. I'm going to flip this engine around, and then we'll take the oil pan off. Okay, got our engine turned. Here's our oil pan. I've already drained the engine of oil. It's looking like some newer frost plugs on there, and there's some telltale signs that this engine is not ancient, or not ancient like as in, but this one is. Just see the crud and the buildup on this one. I mean, you know, this has not been touched. Now, having said that, yes, there's new plugs, but I mean, this could just be a nicely painted engine. You just never know. Chance you take. Okay, let's get this pan off and have a look. Okay, so I got all the bolts off of the oil pan. I got my trusty assistant holding the camera for a change. I'm going to try to pry this off just to see what kind of surprises we can unleash on Earth. There we go. Okay. There's, yeah, okay. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, rebuilt engine, hell no. Hell no. Alright, well now we know. Was this a rebuilt engine? It was not. Is it a sludgy engine? Yes, it is. Alright, I'm going to set this down. We'll take this into work, get that cleaned off. Now bring the camera down here, young lady. And let's just see if we can... Yeah, look, see, here's the pickup tube for the oil pump. Okay, we've got some sludge here. We've got some sludge. So, again, I really did not want to have to tear this apart. And I still might not. I may take the heads off, I don't know. Looks like a little bit of light scoring on the piston skirt here. I would have expected something cleaner, but again, is what it is. You see the... Let me just give this a little tiny wipe. A little bit of light scoring, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a wrench on this engine. I'm going to take the oil pump off. I'm going to take this into work. I'm going to soak it. Obviously, look, let's face it. Now, this engine, I know this engine did sit for a few years, but I mean, there's a lot of sludge in there. So this is not recently rebuilt. Might have been rebuilt in the last 20 years, used, and then left on the garage floor. But I mean, you know, we got a sludge situation here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this oil pump off. I'm going to take this into work. I'm going to get this cleaned up. I'm going to put a wrench on. I'm going to try to turn this engine over, see if I can peek down at the cylinder walls. See if there's any scoring, see if there's any cross-hatching left. Okay, let's see where we go from here. Okay, well, I'm barring this engine over, and I'm turning the engine and I'm looking inside the cylinders, and it's not looking too bad. I don't see any major scoring or gouging. It's looking okay. In fact, it's quite difficult to turn. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the spark plugs out because I'm having a hard time turning this. So it certainly sounds like good compression. So let me take the plugs out and see if it's any better. Should be. Okay, well, our engine is turning quite nice. I've got the spark plugs out. Now the spark plugs are over here. They're okay. There's 8 spark plugs. They're all like this. They're all, I don't know if I can focus on this. They're very sooty, but they're not burnt or anything. They're not fouled. They all look the same, which means the engine's kind of performing the same in each cylinder. Each cylinder looks the same. I don't see any major gouges or anything. I'm still not 100% if I'm going to pull the pistons out, take the heads off. I have not yet decided. Most people would think that I probably should, and maybe I should. It's one of those things, I'm either going to take apart a perfectly good engine, or I'm going to put an engine in that I think is good, and then I'm going to end up doing twice the work. So I have not decided yet. This little chain here seems nice and tight, or not. It's not flopping all over the place. Not too bad anyway. Not too bad. Like I said, from what I could see, I had my light shining in there. I don't know if the camera can pick it up. Maybe hard to see with these angles. On a straight 6, it's much easier to get into the bores, but I don't know if the camera probably doesn't pick it up. But I can't see any distinct cross-hatching, so this engine does have some wear. Definitely not rebuilt recently. But just because it wasn't rebuilt doesn't mean it's no good. And certainly for what I'm doing, I mean, I'm not looking for break any speed records or anything like that. It's not going to be a drag car. It's just going to be my old cruiser. Having said that, I don't want to go through all this and have something that puffs blue smoke to the point where it's an embarrassment when you're at a red light. So not decided yet. I've sprayed this down with a little bit of with some light oil. I'm going to flip the engine back around for now because this is about all I can do for tonight. I'm going to flip the engine back around and I'm going to pour some stuff down the cylinders and I'm going to let it sit. I'm going to cover up the engine, and then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take all these old parts in. I'm even going to bring the valve covers off the junk engine. I kind of like those. I don't really like these ones that came with the engine. This looks something like more modern, but I've ordered chrome. I have ordered chrome online. I don't know when they're going to be here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring all these parts into work. I'm going to bring that oil pump, get that screen all cleaned up. I'm going to bring this pan because it's full of sludge. And while I'm at it, I may as well bring these old valve covers. And I'm going to bring my yellow paint. And I'm going to do this in my spare time at work. Okay, that's all for now. Okay, so I got got a few parts that I brought down to work here. It's going to be the continuation of cleaning up the engine parts. I got the 2 valve covers there. They're pretty cruddy. There is my oil pan. I'm going to start with, I've got my oil pump here, which was very, very sludgy. So I'm going to start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up. I'm going to take this apart. I'm going to take I'm going to make sure this is thoroughly clean. Maybe have a look at the gears inside. This should come apart pretty easy, I think. I'm just going to dunk this. I got a bucket of fuel here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump this and let the fuel do its thing. It'll be perfect for dislodging sludge and stuff. There. Perfect. You can see the goop oozing out of there right now. Nice. So this is what I'm going to be doing today. Now I am on a vessel. And the vessel will be traveling today, so I brought some parts to clean. So as I'm monitoring the machinery down here, I'll be working a little bit on my stuff. So it's going to be noisy because these big caterpillars are going to be running. So it's going to be noisy as heck, but I'll maybe try to get a little bit of footage. I won't be able to speak, of course. It might just be screeching. I mean, these engines are going to be running. The ventilation is going to be on. So anyway, I'm going to try to do a, at least I'll show you, if I don't show you too much detail, I'll show what they look like once they're cleaned. Okay. Okay, so here's these valve covers that I cleaned up and painted. I got a can of blue here. Probably not an exact Ford blue, I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm probably not going to reuse these valve covers because I have some chrome ones ordered. My oil pan is cleaned up and painted yellow. And that is the yellow that I'm planning on painting the engine. Kind of a very vibrant, bright, an odd color for a 302, but when I do my vehicles, usually whatever the color of the vehicle is what I paint the engine. That's what I've done in the past. A bit silly, but that's what I do. So over here right now, the other item I had was the oil pump. Now, these oil pumps are not very expensive. I took this one apart. I cleaned it up. Looks pretty good. There's the guts right there. Now the pickup tube. The pickup tube was full of sludge. And not only that, it was all full of little silicone bits. And that's what all these little bits of silicone are on the bench here. I don't know if you can see those. That was all inside this screen. So that tells me that yes, this engine was probably overhauled, or at least opened up and refreshed at some point, and somebody was a little kind of overdid it a little bit with the silicone. But I don't know. I didn't take any measurements on this. This looks good. It doesn't look worn or anything. I'm just going to yeah, this looks good. Like I said, I'm just going to put the pieces back together. I'm going to put the gear in. Just going to drop this in place. There we go. And it's already not turning as freely now that I've cleaned it with the brake cleaner, but I had to get everything clean. So I'm going to dump a little bit of oil in here, and I'm going to put the cap back on, and I'm going to call this one done. So here's some oil. Just going to put a little bit of oil in here. Keep things lubed up. Okay, well, maybe a lot of oil. Anyway, for the amount of oil that's going in here, it's not going to break the budget. Okay, so that's that. My pump is oiled up and it's already turning much easier. Just going to put this little cap back on. Yeah, a little bit of wear, but not even, there's not even a ridge that I can really feel with my finger, so I don't think this is abnormal. I'll put this back on here. Put these bolts in. Put the pickup tube back on. There's a gasket that goes in there, and I'm going to call this done. And that's it for this part. Next time, hopefully we'll be showing the 302 again, and we'll be progressing on that. Okay.